beautiful people, Sean from Woodcraft back again. Here we are just drawing around the template of the billet we created last time. And as you can see, just as I finished drawing around this template, do a little centre mark at either end. Just going to make it easier for later on if we need to redraw it. Now to start the axing work, and as you can see I've got a few safety things going on here. The hand holding the billet is tucked well back out of the way, with the axe rarely going above halfway up the billet. I'm using 3 different axe cuts. Regular chopping motion where the axe goes straight up and down with all the pressure going down through the chopping block. Also doing a cut called a bump cut, whereas if the axe kind of gets stuck within the wood, you lift both together, bring them both down together, and it helps break the fibres apart. And also a prizing cut, again, if the axe gets stuck in the wood on a slightly thinner piece, you can prize the axe to the side, and it just creates that groove for you to carry on cutting down through. And rather than trying to remove the biggest planes first that we need to do on the top and the bottom of the billet, what I tend to do is remove the sides and corners and then any ridges that are created. What I'm trying to do most of the time for the end of the billet is to have a billet with the top and bottom plane is sorted and the sides at 90 degrees to those. So as you can see from the axe work, small chops all the way up, severing the fibres and then working the way back down all the way through those. And at the moment what we're doing is we're creating a coffin shape within the billet. So the widest part of the spoon is where the bowl is going to be, down to the thinner part. Axe up, axe down, work your way up, breaking those fibres and then work your way back down through them. Just makes your life so much easier and more efficient. So here you can see we're taking out one corner, then take out the other corner. This is just behind where the bowl will be. And then we've created a ridge down the middle, so we'll take that ridge out as well. We'll try and keep the top and the bottom profile both flat. So again, this is the back of the handle now, one side on the corner, then I'll take the other side out on the corner. Chop, chop, chop your way up. Bump cut to break through those fibres if they need it, and then axe back down. By doing that, there's left us that centre ridge, because I'm trying to keep the back at 90 degrees to the sides. It's important to try and take that centre ridge out. And there's the little prizing bits I was talking about. So next we're going to saw in across where the crank is going to be. So in this one it's just about the widest part of the spoon bowl. So I've just laid the template on so I can measure it up. Now it's very important with this saw cut to try and keep it as level as possible. It just means that we're going to have less work to tidy up later on, and that a lot of our work is thinking about what comes later. and then we're going to start on the axing. So rather than trying to axe the whole plane again, do one corner, work from the bottom of the saw cut, work our way up and then back down. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to get to the bottom of that saw cut. As you can see, I'm very carefully holding the weight of the axe so it's not hitting into the piece underneath where we've sawed, because I don't want to break the front of that spoon bowl off. Not yet anyway. So supporting the weight of the axe from about here and just letting that last little bit fall through. So we've done both corners and then just removing any flat area on that centre. Try and get to the bottom of the saw line. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the front off, and what we're going to see is to use the very tip of the axe and try and get it to the very bottom of that saw cut. And when the axe gets to that depth, you can then literally just brush the axe along that saw line and it will work its way all the way along. May need a little bit of cleaning up afterwards. There we go, you can see it working its way through. And as soon as it starts to go through, it goes through very quickly because you're cutting across the fibres. Now to do the clean up at the bottom of this, I just use the axe a bit like a chisel and push it through. Where it's nice and sharp, it will do the job very well. Again, the cleaner we can be, the better it is for later on. Now using the centres that we've drawn, I can redraw the template on. Now I'm just marking in where I'm going to do 2 saw cuts. Later on you won't need to do the marking in as you get more experience, but in this early stages it's very useful. Now the marks I've drawn on are about 1 centimetre or 2 centimetres behind where the bowl will be. Give myself a little bit of space. And I'm going to saw down to about 1 millimetre or 2 millimetres from the actual neck of from the neck of the spoon. I'm going to do that on both sides, again being very conscious to keep the saw as level as possible. So for this part of the axe work, it's vital that we don't let the axe head touch where the spoon bowl is going to be, cutting down this way. It's the reason that we do the 2 saw cuts in. It just gives us a nice little safety margin. Basically, if the axe head touches the back of that spoon bowl, that's where you're most likely to get a crack come from. The other places that cracks quite often come from is pressure fractures that turn up from either end, from either the spoon bowl or the tip of the handle in the early axing process. So I tend to leave my spoon blanks a bit longer than need, and we'll see later I'll saw those extra bits off. So again, axing from the bottom of where I want to take out and then work my way up and then back down. keeping the axe keeping my elbow very close to my body. Gives me a lot of control of that axe head. And this gets thinner and thinner in towards the neck. Again, try and get as close to the bottom of the saw lines as we can, because the less cleaning up we have to do later, the better. Now this is one of the most difficult bits. I always found that one of the most difficult bits is getting around here and using the axe block to support the axe. Going around the back of that bowl does help a lot. Just axing down towards the bottom of that saw mark. Now taking off the front of the bowl, and as you can see the axe is going straight up and down, but the hand holding the billet is actually moving slightly to the side, and it's helping create that curve of the front of the bowl. And what I tend to do is leave the blank slightly longer than I need, so I don't roll it all the way over on the front of that bowl. I'll just say hello to Pixie as she walks past, and then saw off the tip of the spoon and the tip of the handle. And then just one last little piece of axe work, and basically all I'm doing here is just thinning out the back of the bowl a bit more. The less we have to take off with the knife later, the better. Now you can go thinner than I'm going to leave this at the end of the day, but this is thin enough, it's a good start.